Madre Police Dispatcher Aaron.
I need the fire department on Riviera Drive. There's houses on fire. There's no anybody here.
What is the address, ma'am?
1470. 1470. And I'm here now.
Hey, babe. I need you to come out here right now. We have a very big problem.
What? Oh no!
We're here in Altadena. The scene out here is just absolutely devastating, but also terrifying. What is this going to look like when it's over? People aren't going to have homes to come home to. Where are these kids going to go to school?
It looks like a war zone. It makes me really sad to see such a beautiful neighborhood just get taken away in an instant.
He is not stopping, so obviously he is in a hurry and he is blaring that horn to make sure that everybody gets out of his way, and we obviously will.
Yeah, I'll be in for give me a couple. Copy, thanks.
In Altadena, many Eaton Canyon fire survivors feel that they're still being overlooked during rebuilding efforts. Well, today they shared their stories of loss and facing the challenging road to recovery.
The problem for everybody that lives in California is once that's done, all of the billions of dollars that the private insurance companies pay out to support the FAIR plan that's gone insolvent, the insurance companies, with the commissioner's approval, are able to assess all of the folks that own homes within California for their portion of that.
Judge ruled yesterday that the FAIR plan is providing less coverage than required by law by forcing homeowners to prove that smoke damage has created permanent physical change to their property or their belongings.
Now they have not only regulations behind them, but they have the power of the law. And they don't just have the Department of Insurance, they have a lot of attorneys that are watching this now very carefully.
California's insurance commissioner is under fire after an investigation revealed an alleged secret deal with insurers before January's devastating wildfires.
Thousands of families lost coverage just before the disaster struck.
Altadena and Palisades fire victims gathered in Altadena to express their outrage after learning that insurance commissioner Ricardo Lara privately struck a deal with insurers, allowing them to drop tens of thousands of policyholders ahead of the LA fires. Fire victims learned of the deal from a New York Times report, which found that about 11,000 policies were not renewed in or near areas that burned in January.
For the Eaton Fire in Altadena, the agency confirms there is a higher percentage of soil samples with lead above healthy thresholds.
What is even harder to accept, and what literally keeps me up at night, is that no one in power is holding these companies accountable.
I'm only a semi-obnoxious YouTuber. I don't want to interrupt anybody working out here because these folks are working very hard to get these families back in their home. I would love to talk to them. I'm not going to slow them down though. This is where that car was that had the melted glass from the back window liquefied on the rear deck there with not EV painted on the hood. It looks like they've removed all the cars from this neighborhood here. Okay, so these folks are rebuilding, but wow, check out this tree. This tree was torched and you could see where they cut it down, and in less than a year all these limbs have sprouted up out of that. It's just like everything here in Altadena, they just don't want to quit. I love that. And they've started construction.
Okay, look, I love my cowboy hats, but when it's hot as fuck outside and I don't want to die, I throw on a cowboy hat. Lots of styles and colors to choose from. We get at least 15% off. Link is in the description. Use our code TheThirstyCowboy. Now back to the video.
Construction here until they've got the forms put in. Looks like they'll be pouring concrete soon. Okay, this one's been cleared. Looks like they left markers for the walkway. Some assholes decided to dump some furniture. Wonderful. This was that corner house that I was filming inside of, and while they've cleared it, it looks like there's some sort of notice, informal notice of substandard conditions. Let's take a look and see what this is. 1000 Boston Street, Altadena. Okay, posted 127, so this was just posted the other day, and it looks like they've been cited for overgrown vegetation, no dead trees, they have weeds and debris. They have trash, junk, and debris on the premises. Informal notice to allow you to abate the substandard conditions by, and it looks like they have until February 12th. When you have abated or corrected the standard conditions, please contact the inspector so that work may be inspected and code enforcement action closed by abatement date. Okay, well, to make things even more complicated for these folks out here, you have to maintain all of this so that it doesn't become a fire hazard.
How does California help victims of the Eaton Fire? By ticketing the RV they live in out front their damaged home. So when the wildfire ripped through their neighborhood, they literally used garden hoses to fight it and save their home.
First of all, dibs on Bess. Yep, I called it. Dibs.
The Collins are part of the 80% of fire survivors still displaced, so they've lived in an RV on the street out front their home for over a year, and plenty of other people in Altadena do it too. There's RVs and storage pods everywhere. But for the sheriff, this is not included in the recovery plan. The sheriff suggested they just move to a trailer park. So LA County Parking Enforcement gave the Collins 2 tickets for $68 each, and the sheriff showed up 4 days in a row.
Be sure to follow Bess and her team at Reason. They're amazing. Also, Bess, hit me up. Let's collab or go on a date or whatever.
If the RV isn't moved, it could be towed.
Some of these people that were in these neighborhoods, you know, they're your age, and then it's a matter of, okay, am I gonna rebuild? And what's that look like? Well, if you gotta fight it out with your insurance company for 5 years on all these costs, and you know the building costs just keep going up. The building costs aren't going down. The cost of nothing is going down. Everything is always going up. So you got people where, you know, you have to make a decision like, okay, I can rebuild, but you know, I'm going to be in my mid-90s by the time the house is done and I'm moving back in, you know, at best for some of these people. So it may just make sense to take whatever insurance is willing to give them, take whatever Edison is willing to give them, and then go move somewhere else so that they can enjoy the rest of their life as opposed to just...
As I was saying to my dad, Altadena has, or rather had, an aging population. I jumped onto Zillow to find that there are currently about 134 properties on the market in Altadena. This isn't unnecessarily unusual in a town of this size, but let's look at what has sold in Altadena since the wildfires. I'm not entirely surprised to see over 1,000 properties have transferred. Lot after lot after lot, sold off to developers or those with means and time to rebuild. This means about 20% of Altadena residents have left and may never return.
Altadena is literally not for sale. We are not for sale. I don't care if the entire community burned down. We're not for sale. Our land is not for sale. Landlords and people in general should be canceling rent.
This is 3058 Olive Avenue in Altadena. The night of January 7th into the morning of January 8th, a wildfire known as the Eaton Canyon Fire came and ripped through all our properties, and this is my property that burned down. Last year, I lost my private insurance. We were one of many people who got kicked off our private insurance. and I had to get 2 policies to cover what normally covers one policy covers it. And at the time, I was just frustrated about the cost to pay the premium. I wasn't thinking so much about the coverage. And now I'm thinking much more about the coverage, and it doesn't cover a lot. I'm real worried about being able to rebuild.
I mean, we are really fortunate. When the fire happened, it's just my husband, myself, and our cat. Our kids are grown, they have their own homes. So it wasn't a big trauma to leave. But what really breaks my heart is people like our next door neighbor. They were in their late 70s, early 80s. They'd lived in their house for 60 years. It was their original house, and they were pillars of the community. And people like that aren't coming back.
I found that homes lost in the Eaton wildfires were about 1,800 square feet on average, and most Altadena residents found themselves with base dwelling insurance policies covering between $600,000 and $800,000 to rebuild in the event of a fire. With today's construction costs averaging about $550 per square feet, costs to rebuild would be about $990,000 on an 1,800 square foot home, and this does not include the cost to clear their lots of debris or hazardous materials like lead and asbestos. Let me say that again. For some, their insurance covers up to $600,000 to rebuild their home, but the cost to rebuild is going to be $900,000 based on construction costs today. If they do not have $300,000 chilling in their bank account to cover the difference, they will need to borrow this money to rebuild, even if they own their home outright before the fires. Oh, and this does not include personal items lost inside the home at the time of the fires. Furniture, decorations, clothing, jewelry, family heirlooms, classic cars.
I have to look. Maybe it's a Healy? Could have been a Healy. It kind of looks like a Healy. You got the dual exhausts and the lip on the trunk. British made. 4-lug. It kind of looks like a Healy. File cabinet made it, sorta. Then you see some dumbbells over there. Another home gym. So I'm up here on Loma Alta. Lots have all been cleared. You may recall from the video, this was the home that had all the gym equipment outside there. That, of course, has all been removed, and all of this has all been cleared, which is hello. Are they? Do you mind if I record us while we're talking?
Oh, no, I don't want to be recorded.
Okay, I will not record.
I'm a private girl. Yeah,
I'll do. That's why I asked.
Yeah, my one neighbor here is selling, but otherwise everybody else all around here's staying, so that makes me feel good.
I just finished a very nice conversation with the woman who owns this property. She did not want to be on camera, so I want to remain respectful of that, but this is the home that had the Healy parked in the garage here, so she confirmed that was a Healy. Very nice lady, super positive. She just now got to the point where she has decided to rebuild. She is staying. The house was in her family and she wanted to keep that. She's negotiated with her insurance company. She's pretty sure that she's going to end up with just about the same home that she had before the fire. And if you remember, right through this walkway, the only thing that was really remaining was the chimney. Well, she decided she has no need for a fireplace and doesn't ever want to see anything burning in her home ever again. They decided to sell and relocate. They're up there in years and they just don't want to spend the rest of their time building as opposed to living. These folks are going to rebuild. This is actually where that Beetle was sitting when I was here a year ago.
I was looking up the hill of Loma Alta and you could see on the mountainside what looked like, waves, but they were fire. And it was weird because they'd break apart. And I was realizing what it was, but when you look at it, when you see it, it feels so foreign. It's nothing you've ever seen before.
This is Nick ARNZEN, the elected chair of the Altadena Town Council. I would have to describe Nick as one of those welcoming, kind, and helpful souls that you rarely ever meet. Nick and his family are residents of Altadena, and alongside the thousands of others, they also lost their home in the fire.
I think what people forget is that Altadena was created by rejects, that these are a lot of minorities that were pushed out of other areas nearby and priced out and just shoved up into this little area by the mountain. And then you go way back, and it was farmers from the Midwest that were trying to use up the land. And then you go before that, and it just keeps being taken from different entities. So as we move forward,
we will catch up with Nick a little later in the video, as he is also the executive director of the Eaton Fire Collaborative.
The Collaboratory, a resource hub for Eaton Fire survivors. Then you have their social media up there, and you have their website. Okay, so they were not available for interview today here, but we'll just give you a little bit of information from their signage here. So, Rebuild Center here, site, they have information here in terms of how to set up your site plan, footprint of your house. They even have information on house plans. So a lot of resources available here to help people rebuild. Contaminant level evaluation analysis for neighborhoods, soil drop-offs. That's something that I've seen a lot of discussion on, in that the soils here in some cases are testing a little bit high in lead. A lot of these homes were built over 100 years ago, so there's very likely lead paint in these homes and other elements of construction that may have contained lead. And of course, fire comes and destroys it. It all ends up in the ground. So they have this as a service available for people who want to come in and test their soil to see what the lead content is. And then they have a QR code here. Looks like the Rebuild Center is currently closed, but they do have an emergency number here for you, and they have a QR code here for you. We'll freeze that on the screen for you. Okay, schedule an appointment, scanning the... Oh, sorry. That's okay, you're fine. Everybody's very nice here. Despite the fact that they did not want to come out for a brief interview, everybody is super, super nice here. If you want to come here outside of hours, you can scan this and set up an appointment for yourself. And then they also have the permitting center is nearby over here. One stop, 2 buildings down the road over by McDonald's. Okay, this is really cool. It looks like on February 21st, they're going to hold a one-day summit between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. Talk about 1 year later, what comes next. One-day summit bringing residents, small business and builders, educators, funders, government leaders together to share clear information, real resources, and next steps after the fire. And then they have some bullet points there of, learning about best practices for fire safety, some funding and grant programs for people that need those.
We are inside the Collaboratory. This is the vision from the folks behind the Eaton Fire Collaborative that started just after the fire. Take a look here. This is 200 organizations now at this point that are all coming together to make sure that they can help people with all types of resources.
We are in what's going to serve as our community shop, where folks will be able to come get all of their necessities for free. As folks are starting to get settled, they're in dishware is in high demand. We've got everything from hygiene kits, sun care, shampoo, conditioner.
It'll house about, on a day-to-day average, about 35 nonprofits providing services from here, and everything from case management to mental health help to children, youth, and family support.
We're really trying to be a one-stop shop for people to come in and say, this is my most pressing need, and then we're able to direct them to the organization that can help or the committee that can help.
So I just live up Marengo, right here in between Calaveras and Mendocino.
And many of the people helping are also survivors.
Our house has been in our family for about 5 generations.
And you're still displaced? You're still...
Yes, my parents moved to Apple Valley and I moved to Pomona. So I drive back and forth every day to come to work.
They say they understand what it's like to try to find answers to insurance questions or how best to rebuild and what is needed to make that process faster. The county shows 515 rebuild permits so far issued for the Eaton Fire neighborhoods, with an average time for getting a permit now at 79 days.
So while I was filming, the executive director came out to say hello. Super nice guy, local resident. He actually lost his home in the fire as well. He gave us a little bit of a tour on the inside. We didn't film it. There were some high-level meetings going on in there, including state reps, so we wanted to be respectful of that. But we saw the store inside. It's by appointment only. It's very discreet. It's very professional. There's no waiting in lines and such. You just set up an appointment using the QR code that we showed you earlier. And yeah, show you a little bit of that map for homes that were lost and rebuilding. I'll bring that in right now.
Kind of surreal seeing the amount of destruction displayed like this. Yes, the red represents homes destroyed, but a small ray of hope shining through. The hearts are homes rebuilt and turned back over to the residents. 15 of them. They sat out and pre-approved several different plans for reconstruction, and this is one of them right here. So in order to keep like the same aesthetic of Altadena and not completely re-identifying the area, since you know this is a neighborhood that's over 100 years old, and you have homes that were built in the you have homes that presumably might have even been built in the 1800s, but definitely early 1900s all the way up to the 50s, 60s, and 70s.
Well, this is encouraging here. This is one of only 12 homes that have been rebuilt here in Altadena. At least it's beautiful, beautiful home. This one's up a little bit on the hill. I mean, new lawn and everything. As I'm looking at this, I can see that they've rebuilt this with the best fire retardation built right into the home itself. It's all concrete stucco, fire retardant roof, and then around the edges you can see the flashing. There's actually no wood exposed, like that's all steel all the way around. So there's actually no access points for any sort of embers or anything, no exposed, nothing flammable on the outside of the structure. I noticed earlier before you were out here that your house made it through all of this. Any idea how? Luck?
Mostly just the grace of God.
Grace of God?
And,
nothing wrong with that.
A little help from the neighbors.
And they made it too?
Yeah, they came back during the fires and were out there putting stuff out in the backyards.
Like with their hose?
Yeah, with their hose, or just stomping stuff down. They tore down a fence that was
on
starting
fire
to burn.
Yeah. You may recall the interview I did with the older gentleman who lives in this home here. Well, as you can see, still has not moved back into his home. 1 year later, even though the fire did not destroy his home, still has not moved back. Well, business is pretty good when that's your work truck.
Tailgate down, tires in the dirt, got a cooler full of cold and a radio that works. Ain't no bar, but we got the groove. Bed of my truck's got room to move. It's a pickup truck party, rev it loud, dancing in boots with the stars looking down. Back road beats and a moonlit sway. We don't need walls when the sky's this way. Crank that dial, let the speakers blow. We're shaking this tailgate nice and slow.
One thing is for certain, it is a good time to be a contractor. These guys sure do have some nice brand new trucks.
Grill gleam
Unlicensed contractors are targeting victims who are desperately trying to rebuild their lives.
Los Angeles County DA Nathan Hochman announced charges against people he says illegally offered to rebuild properties in Altadena.
5 men were arrested and are now facing charges of operating illegally here in Altadena, caught in a sting operation led by the district attorney's office, denied officials with this warning.
Warning, wildfire state of emergency. Unlicensed contractors and contractor fraud will be prosecuted.
LA County District Attorney Nathan Hochman, along with Supervisor Catherine Barger, standing on an empty lot where a home once stood, vowing to go after unlicensed contractors operating in Altadena.
Unlicensed contractors will not be tolerated in Los Angeles County. And let me tell you that that is not a threat, that is a promise.
Hi.
How late will you be out today?
I'm sorry.
How late will you be out today?
Today?
Yeah.
It's going to be at 6.
At 6? Okay.
Yes.
I just ate, so I'll come back. Several of the local restaurants and obviously thousands of homes were destroyed. So I love the fact that you have somebody out here with some good dining alternatives other than, Jack in the Box and Del Taco. Although I don't mind some Del Taco every once in a while. I will go back. Definitely eat there later.
Do you know anybody who was in Altadena who maybe bought some gas and a lottery ticket? Well, as you just mentioned, that winning lottery ticket sold right here. You can see the banner behind me. It says billionaire made here. So exciting, and the world descended on this place today.
In 2022, Edwin Castro became America's first $2 billion Powerball winner overnight. Behind the mansions and sports cars, his story was full of twists that no jackpot could ever prepare him for. From Altadena, California, Edwin Castro was a shy guy, not flamboyant, not well known, merely an average man going about his business. Though he studied architecture, he became a mechanic and lived in a little apartment.
Remember that $1.2 billion Powerball winner? So
Yes.
let's go up to Stu in Skyfox. He is over the brand new home in Hollywood Hills, where this Powerball winner bought this home, Stu?
From Altadena to the Hollywood Hills.
It's all that's left of a multi-million-dollar Malibu home. It belonged to none other than the winner of the biggest lottery jackpot in history, Edwin Castro. 2 years ago, Castro was dubbed the luckiest man in America.
$2.04 billion.
He splurged on real estate, including this opulent $3.8 million beachfront mansion, which is now just a pile of ash.
This is really encouraging to hear. His name is Edwin Castro, and he has spent $10 million buying properties that were destroyed by wildfires in his hometown of Altadena. Take a look at the aftermath of January's Eaton Fire in this town. It destroyed more than 16,000 structures and killed more than 30 people.
Castro says he is hoping to help local families who want to go back to that area while also preserving the neighborhood's whimsical character. He says he plans to sell the homes at market value to families who will live in that community long term.
Investors coming in and buying up properties are not generally welcomed. However, Castro gets a pass because he once lived in Altadena. Castro is currently holding the most properties in Altadena, 15 of them, and he is not doing any of this for charity, as all homes will be sold at market value.
My name is Manuel Alvarado. They told us about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning to evacuate the area with loudspeakers and knocking on the doors, get out, get out, get out, the flames were coming. And we got out with what we had on. We own our home. We've been here for 50 years. We lost literally everything.
With his guitar and his wife Emma, Manuel Alvarado fled the only place his family has called home for more than 60 years.
But anyway, this was our house.
Like so many families in Altadena,
I'm a grown man, I don't cry, but I wanted to cry. You know, I thought, wow, everything's gone.
this is all that is left of the house they raised their family in on Fair Oaks Road.
A lot of memories, you know. And a lot of good and a lot of not so good memories, but they're memories that it's all gone.
Manuel and Emma bought their house in 1972 for $23,000. Now with hopes to rebuild, the question is, how?
What's next?
come back here?
Well, yeah, but I mean, you know, that's it. I guess we come here and die. I mean, we come here and finish it off, right?
Yeah.
This will be our last stand.
But the couple has been uninsured for almost 2 decades.
Sunbeams keep peeking through the gray, and just like a clown whose shoes never fit the right way, life feels out of tune. But sunbeams keep breaking through the clouds, they keep shining.
And just make yourselves at home, walk around. I'll sit here
Yeah.
with questions.
Okay.
Make yourself at home, open the drawers, open the...
Your Delaware is beautiful.
You can open the drawers, do whatever you need to do. I don't mind. But I've maxed it out more or less for my own use.
Do you know what the square footage of a unit is?
I think isn't it around
It's 400.
400 or
Yeah.
a little over 400?
Yeah, it's park model RV, which
428
are
or
limited
something
to
like
400
that.
square feet.
It's a, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm connected to my septic tank. It took me 2 weeks. I got the permit right away. I had to have the septic inspected. Of course, the fire happened, and you know, no one expected it. You know, there've been many fires, but no one expected it to actually come down into the sky. So when I was told to evacuate, I only took my purse, my cat, and my medicine. So then, of course, I had to rent an apartment. I was in the apartment for 9 months, and during that time, I was, you know, overwhelmed with all the insurance and FEMA and this and that, and I was very unhappy in the rental because I had lived here for almost 50 years, and it was really my home. It was 100 years old, and I wanted to think about some way of getting back without rebuilding, because rebuilding takes probably up to 2 years. And at 88, I thought, I'll never get back.
So I had myself a little chat with the breeze. Told him I don't care much for tricks like these, whistling all around. But still those changes keep on blowing in, they keep blowing. But here's the truth I found. The blues might come to test me, won't arrest me. It won't be long till brighter skies rise up to bless me.
Should feel good, but I feel conflicted. We're going to be all alone when we move back. We still have all the loss that losing the house. We had to leave in 15 minutes. So I'm confused about how I should feel. I don't know how I should feel.
I am so heartened to see the first completed full house at Altadena. This house is where Steve Gibson called home for 24 years. A year ago, I met him here, literally days after the fire, and it was gut-wrenching to hear directly from him what he was going through at that time?
We just grabbed our papers and our dog and got in the car and left.
At that time, he didn't know what he has to go through to get there. Lots of fear from builders around permitting and the time it takes to get permits and building. Yet some of the incredible programs and efforts that the state has done has actually paid off. There's a long way to go to rebuild these areas, but it is just a great feeling to actually see that vision and resiliency that Steve was expressing a year ago.
I want to come back. I want to live again in the same place with the neighbors.
Literally less than 3 months after construction started, he is the first one completing his house. Why? Because he utilized factory-built housing. This is a program that is also a central policy priority that the Strategic Growth Council, which I also chair within California, we developed as part of our housing as a climate strategy. We incentivize factory-built housing as one of many ways to actually quickly deliver housing where it's needed throughout the state.
You can't have an Altadena that is full of our neighbors and we work together and we produce a wonderful place to live. So I feel positive about that, and I try to convey it, but I try to also be realistic in that it's difficult. It's going to be difficult to accomplish, but we can do it. And I want to be an example. In my case, we're almost ready to move back in, so I know it can be done, and I want to encourage other people to keep pushing forward and doing it, even though it's difficult. It's an effort.
Can I go to work for you today?
Thank you for watching the video. Now check out this video from Pacific Palisades or this video from Altadena 1 year ago.